again, I want to say a special good morning to our listeners, those of you that's on Classic 105.5 and 105.9. And it's about the time I say good morning to those of you that has just joined us on television. That's GBN's Channel 7 and Channel 11, Channel 20 if you are in cable. Those of you that's on our Facebook page or a YouTube channel, or you're following us via the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd. Good morning to you wherever you are. If you're here at home, across the region, in other parts of the diaspora, maybe it's appropriate that I say good afternoon, or maybe good evening, or good night to you. It is Wednesday, and we do what we do best. We head straight and link up with the friends inside of the Wireman's house. And I want to say good morning to Team Wireman. Well, Wireman and Wire Lady. How are you guys doing?
Good morning.
We have officially have to make sure that we say the Wireman, the Wireman, and the Wire Lady. What's happening?
Good morning, Joe. I just want to say good morning to everyone who is tuning to GBN Mid Morning Buzz via radio, television, Instagram, and Facebook. And this morning is going to be quite an interesting and informative program.
Right.
And with us, we have Nigel Glasgow from Nigel Electrical Service.
Good morning to you all, and good morning to all the listeners. It's a pleasure being here in support with Wireman's House. And good morning to you.
Good morning to you, sir. It's another ball head, so of course I acknowledge that you're part of the fraternity.
I recently joined the club.
Recently? No, I'm a long-standing member. But we welcome you with open arms just the same.
Yes.
We know traditionally, the Wireman's House, and while in fact that the products, the services that you offer, you've taken it way beyond what you did traditionally, just electricals.
Yes.
But certainly, ever so often, we have to go back to roots. And today we're going back to roots, and we're focusing on the electrical elements of things. And electricals, but anything to do with that. That's one thing I don't play with. And I know you always advise when persons have to make a purchase, you always say, get yourself and let your electrician advise you as to what you should do. And there's a lot now we can talk about, but I'm hoping that maybe we can talk to have a regular conversation about things that happens around the house, persons knowing what they should and shouldn't do when they're making purchases. But let's just start for the next few minutes around the house. As an electrician, let's talk about some of the do's and don'ts around the house. And one of the common ones that people do is the overloading of sockets. There is the notion that if your breaker trips, or maybe your, the adapters, I take a piece of foil paper and I bridge it, and that is so totally fine. Yeah, and all of those different sort of madness that we do in our homes. And then when we buy the product, we come back, it doesn't work. You want to tell Lady Duncan, well, I bought this and it ain't working properly, when in fact, it's we that just went to them and we made a boo-boo out of it. So let's start. Some of the professional tips, do's and don'ts. Let's start with some of the don'ts and some of the common household mistakes that in your professional arena you see people make every day, and it makes you shake your head and pull out your hair, because that's why you have no hair right now.
Maybe you might be quite correct, huh? But around the home, domestically, and some cases commercially as well, people, as you rightfully said, people tend to overload circuits. That is one of the most common problems. One of the reasons being is that it may be that they were ill-advised by their technician, or due to finances and restraints, they may have installed less points, as we say, but points being sockets, outlets, lights, switches, as needed. So in an area where they might have needed 2 or 3, they would have only installed 1 for whatever reason. Then, in adding to that, these items, these sockets, so to speak, the socket outlets are designed for a specific amount of amperage, which you're not supposed to maximize. Right. But in doing so, having one installed alone, they put an extension cord on it, or they go sometimes to the cheaper suppliers and buy these inferior adapters and plug them in, and then they overload them by plugging 7-8 different items.
So hold on. We touching a sensitive area. Inferior adapters. Listen, I see adapters in tongue $2 so on. I buy one. Times are hard. What makes it inferior? I've been using it for the last 200 years. How dare you tell me my adapter is inferior? And what if it is inferior?
Okay, take for instance, I'm not at liberty to give out all information, but I just did an assessment on a property obliquely opposite Lavo Lane in Cali, and the upstairs of the house was torched. And the reason being, they went and they bought a 2,500 watt transformer from a merchant, so to speak.
Right.
And transformer was pretty inferior, and they loaded it up, and it caught fire, and the fire started from that transformer. That usually a 2,500 watt transformer will run probably about $300-$400.
Yeah.
They bought that for $107. So you see the point I'm making.
Right.
Yeah. Had they spent $300, it would have saved them the cost of $150,000 now to repair the house.
And those are things that I'm assuming, because and that's why I'm like we have in this cup, because there are times when you see things that in your mind is a deal, but it's not. It's more like a risk that you're literally open-heartedly investing into.
Correct.
And I don't think anybody wants to literally run the risk of knowing that you're buying substandard equipment to invest in your home, maybe in your farm coop, maybe, or your bird cage, maybe.
Well, no, there you would absorb some losses as well.
Right, but I mean, but think about it when you think about your home, your family, your life work. You're saying it is better, and that's where, Duncan, you always make the advice: let your electrician, and qualified electrician, not the guy next door that has a screwdriver in his that comes and change the light bulb. That doesn't qualify him.
Exactly.
You want the experts to advise you.
Indeed.
And this is why I am in support of your adjective you used there. Qualified electrician, right. And that's the key here. And qualified doesn't just mean, as you said, somebody with a screwdriver and pliers, somebody with a license. You need somebody with both the theoretical and practical experience. Yeah, because you could have a license and you don't have the exposure, so you're still not qualified, right? And my advice is get to the electrical supply houses. If you are not technically inclined, you are not informed by a qualified technician, get to the supply house. And this is where Wireman's house come in. They have qualified and certified people who could advise you as a customer who are not inclined to the electrical installation, what you should buy and what you should use for a specific application.
Shall I assume too that there's substandard and inferior quality cables? And we're going back now to installation, building, and we're building from the ground up, and I'm now starting to wire my house. If there's inferior transformers, is it possible that I can be investing in inferior cables? And let's talk about the need to ensure, because very often, and now most of the time, Nigel, because it is difficult economic times, all of us, and I wouldn't say people, each and every one of us, we are looking for some way to save. But let's talk to us about some of the practical things that we should not compromise. Whether I am a new home builder, whether or not I'm doing minor or major renovations, or whether or not I'm just in the process of purchasing some new equipment or appliances for my home. Let's talk about those things.
Okay, so building from the ground up, your foundation is always key. Yeah? And in the electrical industry, foundation will be your installation of your first fix. I say first fix meaning your conduits, your boxes, and your raceways and stuff like that. If you cut costs by undersizing the conduit, so let's say for a particular area, 25 millimeter conduit should have been used, and you use a 20 mil conduit in rather than the 25, in the essence of cutting costs, then you will have some negative impacts from that when you start your second
break down for me. You made mention of 20 millimeters conduit, 25 millimeters. Let's talk about those specifications and exactly what it represents to, because electricians may understand this, but we also want at least to be able to educate the general public. So what exactly, so I go to the wireman's house and I see cables, it says one says 20 millimeters, the other one says 25 millimeters. What exactly is it that I represent?
But just in correction, these are conduits that they are placed in the walls and in the slab to channel your cables in at a later date.
Right.
Right? This is, we call it raceway because it's designed to house the cables, protect them, and keep them at the right operating temperature. And now the engineers and the manufacturers, when they design these cables, they are designed with insulation that is designed to stay at certain temperatures, operating temperatures.
Right.
If you go below, it's okay, but beyond, then you start having a breach in the integrity of the cable. One of the things in ensuring that does not happen is using the right conduits, pipes. Well, as a layman might call it pipes.
Okay.
But in electrical it's called conduit, in plumbing it's called pipes, right? And if you do not size your conduit properly, then you find, I know most people have seen it, you and all may have seen it, electricians using oil and squeezy and all kind of things to try and 3 and 4 men pulling the wires in the pipe.
So that's not normal?
No, it's not.
Absolutely not.
Nigel, about the times I see that in my life, I say, fellas, I want in on that too. Get a bottle of oil and some squeeze and I helping you pull.
Yes, and you see, it has become the norm. But you see, if you're not, as I said, if you're not theoretically inclined, you will not understand the dangers of doing that. Because the cables must remain at a certain temperature for efficient and safe operation. If you cram the cables into a conduit so tight, there is no cooling factor in there. The cables will overheat when they get load on them. And that's when they start burning out. You start having high resistances. Your light bills start going up because resistance does what it does. It resists the flow of electricity through the cable, right? People have a new installation in a brand new building and they call you in and you go in and you check and everything working, Right. But the bulbs blow regularly. Every 2 weeks they have to change a light bulb.
Okay.
Every minute the instrument is going bad. This is because the cables are running hotter than their operating temperature, or in using the oil, the oil and squeezy technique. The amount of stress you're putting on that cable. The reason they use copper in cables is because copper is the softest metal, one of the softest metals there.
Right.
And as a result, it allows the flow of electricity efficiently and cost effectively. When you pull that cable, if I go to the supplier and I buy a 2.5 cable, which is designed to take 25 amps, and I force it into the conduit, pull it and stretch it, it loses its capacity. But then you still go and put a 25 amp breaker onto it for protection. That cable now, because you stretch it, it becomes smaller. So it can only take now 15 amps rather than 25.
Nigel,
so
you have literally... We could end the program now. And I could just play what you just said for the last 5 minutes. No, because, we may just be overloading people's brain, and that's why I'm happy that we have this. Because, I'm not into the construction industry, but I've seen it. And you assume, you take it for normal, that, well, if the wire ain't going through, boy, grease it up and pull. And you see guys, stop. They're pulling and they're doing all of those sort of stuff. But you've highlighted a few things there. Compromising the operating temperature, because of course everything works, even your body, it works at optimum temperature, right?
Correct.
So, and I can see you talked about now your light bills going up, and let's hone in there, because I know once you start saying light bills going up, you're catching everybody's attention. They may not necessarily bother with you when you talk about, forcing cables. They're bothering, what happened to he? I do that since I was a little boy. But there's two things you're risking there. One, it's costing you more now because
Correct.
you have compromised electrical flow. You talked about the issue with the resistance. Now you have a huge light bill, but now you're compromising the safety and integrity of your home, your haven.
Correct. Yes, your place of zen. And this is where experience now comes in to play, along with the theoretical aspect of your knowledge. And this is where these technicians, if there is a need that arises, sometimes you may have a proper installation done, but the run is so long that you pulling the cable in, it could be a bit hard and tough.
Right.
So what you do, you lubricate it. But you're not lubricating it because the conduit is undersized. You're lubricating it so that you don't damage the cable in that long pull, that lengthy pull, right? But there are proper lubricants that you can purchase at Wireman's house. Lubricants that's designed, and oil wasn't designed for that. They are flammable. Grease and oil is flammable. When you pull it into the conduit and the wire's overheating and that oil in the conduit, you can't get it out. So then you're creating a fire hazard.
Right.
But there are cable lubes. There are cable lubes for applied purposes that you can purchase at the Wireman's house.
So much for
And that
squeezy.
is designed for cable pulling. It disintegrates over a period of time after use.
Right.
Yeah. So again, that is a malpractice that a lot of technicians use, but it's because of lack of knowledge and experience. But at the end of the day, when all this is said and done, the customer is always the one to feel the pinch because they are the one who have to spend the money to rectify and do all the remedial work to get their installation working efficiently and safe for their home.
And then the challenge is that is whether or not, because you've used a particular electrician over the years, you develop a measure of trust. He's not going to say to you, well, you're having these problems because we took shortcuts initially.
No. Wouldn't happen.
So you were saying at the end of the day, you want to encourage homeowners. Yes, while you want to save, be in the know, so that you can make an objective evaluation as to what you should and shouldn't do. But in the same token, though, I'm assuming reasonably that there are some ways, though, that you can that you can save. Is there?
Yes.
Let's talk about one of the legitimate things that you can do. And we're going again, as a homeowner, you're just building. What are some of the things that you can do so as to reduce and cost? Tell us.
Well, first of all, a proper design. And I say a proper design because most homeowners go to an architect to get their building drawn.
You're right, yes.
But they do not go to a proper electrician or an electrical engineer to have an electrical installation designed. So the flaws start from there. And I say this because when they give the job to an electrician who is not as inclined as others, he is entitled to do his own thing.
Okay.
And he will go and do what he knows. What he knows may not be the best.
He may just be doing what he has done all the years.
Exactly. Look, I have a situation now where a young man who is still going to school at TAMCC, he has 2 houses doing, and he's going to school at TAMCC, so he has minimal experience. He's a trainee, he knows nothing, and he has 2 houses doing, and every day he calls one of my employees to ask them how to do this, how to do that, what size I should use, and these type of things. And this is what people are faced with. You have not had a proper design done on your building. Get a certified, qualified, and experienced technician to collaborate, get it complemented by these professional staff at the Wireman's house.
Let me ask you, you talk about the professional.
The Wireman's house, you may be surprised to know the wealth of knowledge that their staff carry.
Right. And they have,
Say again?
and they have a wealth of knowledge, and it's interesting that while you say that, while they're knowledgeable, they always, and I must say that, they always at the end of the day say, you know what? Still, find. They always advise you, find one of the guys. We know a lot of stuff, but we know there are guys who knows so much more than we know.
True.
But Nigel, you were talking about design, and I mean, and the time runs so quickly, because I'm trying to put it in my head. What does, so we can explain to the public, what is the design, I'm assuming the design in terms of your house and that electrical plan that you have, how can you use it to your advantage in terms of being able to save? And what are some of the mistakes that people make? And I'm talking in terms of the positions of lighting fixtures. And I guess the design of by electrician will help guide you what fixtures you use where, maybe where you should position it based on which area gets more light and all of those sort of things. All of those things you would help to take into considerations as means of helping them to save cost.
Correct. And in doing that, it means that they can minimize the amount of light that they have to keep on. Because if your light is not strategically placed, let's say in the kitchen, right. A lot of people fall prey. A lot of customers and clients and so on fall prey by the electricians putting the lights on the wall so that when they turn their back to face the sink or the stove,
shadows.
There's no light.
Right.
They have to come down and add in another light. Right? When you could have just placed one light on the ceiling and have one light working rather than two lights running at all time. Little things like that. Strategically place your outlets so that you would minimize the length of extension cords and all these type of things. Right? The key in having a technician help you with your design, it creates a foundation that makes it easier for your second fix and third fix. When the job is in completed stages, then you have an installation that's safe, one, an installation that's working efficiently, two, and by that, you would save costs. Your main reason for saving money on an installation is your foundation. Once your foundation is right, the design is right, then the execution will be right. You will minimize wastage. You may spend a little more upfront getting the right materials, but your savings are in the long run because then you don't have to bring in a second technician to come in and charge you another $12,000, $14,000 to rewire the place after you would have spent $12,000 already. And at the end, you end up spending $24,000.
And I think, Nigel, if persons, they see the cost, those initial costs,
than 12.
If they see it as an investment you're making into your home, you make the initial investment that saves you and on those long-term costs a year from now, 2 years from now. Most times we don't see it. So I build my house and I spend money, but imagine your home 5 years down the line, you then have to pay somebody again who's going to charge you another $15,000-$20,000, and you're thinking, correct, well, that is okay, when in fact, had you followed the game plan as executed by a professional, let the Wireman's house guide you, let your electrical company, Nigel and crew, guide, then it makes life so much easier.
Yeah.
So much easier, so much safer, and it's a long-term investment. Not just an investment, a long-term investment.
Let me ask you this one. Sorry. You were saying? Go ahead.
And I say that because we visited a job just last week. Every time rain fall with the heavy showers we had, the people, appliances, shocking stuff, burning, the smelling stuff. But only when rain fall. We went in and we did some checks, some intensive checks to find out that they have the grounding under the house.
Wow.
And the area is dry, rock dry.
And that should be moist.
And it should be moist at all time.
Okay.
Your earth is most efficient when it's in wet locations. And this again comes back to a bad designing, bad installation, lack of knowledge. The customer will not know these things.
Right.
They are dependent on the people who are serving them.
Nigel, I have one question to ask you. I know you normally comes in and you buy all different types of cables, whether it's flex, single, rhino, armored. When should people use these cables, these different types of cables?
It all depends on the applications.
Okay.
There are applications for the single cables. Mind you, the single cables come in both PVC and XLP, which you can purchase at the wireman's house.
Okay.
And the electrician will advise on the application. So in a home, PVC cables is the best. Yeah, and they're protected in conduits.
Okay.
If you're using in industrial purposes, you want to go with more XLP cables, or you will have to increase the size of your PVC cable. Yeah, because it's industries, motors, you have higher residual currents and stuff like that. But one of the keys also is sizing the breaker for these cables. And this is advice that you can get from the electrician or even the staff at the wireman's house.
Right.
Yeah, you have rhino cable, which is called as flex cable as well. People use them for extension cords. People use them to loop from structure to structure. People use them to run surface on cable trays. Then you have the ECC cable, which wireman's house carry, I think, up to 16 mil I saw. You can use them to run surface on cable trays for different type of application, for industries, for domestic purposes.
Right.
Yeah. You have armored cable. They carry a range of armored cables as well, both PVC and XLP. So you can use for areas, where you place direct burial into the ground, or you place it on a cable tray, or you want to run it underground in a conduit where there is a temperature coefficient difference from running it in a house.
Okay.
So that application, the armored cable, is one of the safer cables.
Okay.
Again, it comes back to the technician, maybe the design by the engineer, and again, the suppliers at the wireman's house.
And the armored cable, is it waterproof?
The armored cable is waterproof. They're watertight.
All right.
If the insulation is not breached, if it's not damaged.
Okay.
On the other hand, the XLP armored cables is one that you need to protect with what you call a heat shrink or some form of protective coating for the exposed areas. Many times you see guys run cables on poles and on buildings, and then you see the sleeving falling off. It's not designed to take the UV rays, so you protect it with a sleeving. Wireman's house sell what you call a heat shrink. It's a PVC sleeving that you can buy in different sizes, which is available at the wireman's house. You can sleeve the cable, and then you heat it. It shrinks and adhere to the XLP cable, and you color code it at the end of it so that you get back the same color coding that is used throughout the industry.
Before we run now, because all the time we started at home and we're going back at home, and we talked about some of those common mistakes that we make. I grew up doing it, and believe me, because when you're in the home, and a lot of us, you grew up in single parents' homes, especially, but even if not in a single parent home, but you're the big boy in the home. When something mommy call you, that ain't working. Hey, the fuse, you take a piece of foil paper and you become master technician. You plug back on toaster or microwave, it works. And you think, aha, I am good at this. That is a no-no, Nigel, or is it just something, boy, just live and let learn?
No, that's a no-no. These fuses, and a fuse comes in different form. It comes in the form that you see in those little tripping plugs,
right?
But your circuit breaker in your main distribution box, your panel, is also a fuse. And they are designed to trip when they pick up a fault current, a overload, or anything along that line. They are designed for that. So if you have a fuse that's blowing or popping, as they say, you have no place bypassing it with a piece of copper wire or a piece of foil paper, as you just described. You need to get a technician in to vet it, look at it, investigate it, and see what is the reason it's blowing. Because it's blowing for a reason, and it's blowing to protect you. It's blowing to protect life. Someone can get electrocuted in doing so.
If my breaker keeps tripping, before we run. Tell me quickly, what may that be in an indication of?
There are dozens of reasons that breaker can trip. A thorough investigation should be done before putting back on that breaker.
You serious, Nigel? What happened to you? In the middle of the night, my breaker go off. I put on my switch. I realize no current. When I go in the box. I see the breaker off. I put it back on.
Right. And if you
but I'm saying it that way, it may sound laughable, but that's how we think, and that's what we do naturally. Yeah, that's what we do. But you're saying if it tripped, it is for a reason.
It's for a reason. And it would not trip just like that. It's not designed to trip just like that. If it's tripping on its own, then that breaker is faulty. You need to replace it.
Right.
You need to replace it. But if it's working and it tripped, the only way to rectify that and ensure, get a technician in, because there is something going on.
And I think we would leave that right there. It's actually 25 minutes onto the hour. Lady Duncan, I think we need Nigel back next week. We need to do a series on this and continue this conversation. And we need to make it as practical. I mean, believe me, this has been an edifying, really educational experience, because a lot of things we do and we take it for granted because nothing has happened. And I'm being honest, it has happened to me. So you go to the bedroom, you realize there's no light current in the bedroom, but the other parts of the house there's light. So
Indeed.
Breaker, and your boy climb up, blip, good. PG, I'm the man of the moment. Boy, the things we do, Nigel, out of ignorance. God doesn't.
But it's not the safest of things to do.
It's not the safest of things to do, and we really want to say, folks, there are things we do out of ignorance that we get away with. In the context of the good Lord smiles on us. But keep in mind, as Nigel said, your home is your zen, your haven. Your sweet spot is your comfort zone, and the one place you want to ensure that it is always safe for you, your family, friends, and your loved ones is your home. There's no need to cut corners. Check the folks at the Wireman's house, and when you check them, they would pass you on to Nigel, the guys that can tell you exactly how it is done. Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Lady Duncan. Looking forward to next week, folks, when I tell you there's always something exciting happening at the Wireman's house. This week it was Nigel, my new pally, and he was recently introduced to the Ballhead Club. Welcome, Nigel.
Just a bit of information for those of you who are trying to locate us. We are located in Woodlands, St. George's, and you can reach us on 443-5577 or 449-5577. You can also email us at thewireman'shouse@gmail.com. Our opening hours from Monday to Thursday, we are open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. On Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. On Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. We also do free deliveries within St. George's. Not forgetting, we do special orders here. So guys, I always say make the Wireman's house your one-stop shop where you can come shop in comfort, where friendly staff always await you, where you're paying for quality products at affordable prices.
Quality products at an affordable price. Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Lady Duncan. Peace and love. Enjoy the rest of the day, guys. All the best.
Thank you, Mr. Blue, for welcoming me to the Ballhead Club. So I asked.
Okay, comrade. Bless. We take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back right here on the Mid-Morning Buzz.
You're invited to tune in to Grenada Music to the World program, hosted by Eugene Gittens on Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9, Hot FM 98.5, 98.7, GBN TV, and all their social media platforms. the only totally local music program in Grenada, representing all genres of music. So it's Green's Music to the World on Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on GBN with the music icon himself, Mr. Eugene Gittens. See you then.
That's not how you cross the pedestrian crossing.
Really? One day I just woke up and I saw pedestrian crosswalks on the road. No one really showed me how to use them properly.
Well, this is how it's done. You never cross before doing these things. They might save your life. First, when you get to the crosswalk, you stop. You look left, you look right. If there's a vehicle coming, you put your hand out, making eye contact with the driver, indicating that you want to cross. And only when the vehicle comes to a complete stop, you quickly cross to the other side.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact. Wait for pedestrian to cross to the other side, then you happily continue on your journey. This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Indeed, I'm happy that you've remained with me. Well, we're done talking all things electrical. We're headed now straight inside of the GFA, and we know there's always, yes, when it comes to the GFA, the Grenada Football Association, there's always something that is happening, and whether it's women's football, there's at the national level, at the junior level, we know there's always a conversation that we can have, and we heading right there, another traffic conversation. Good morning, my dear Ruth. How are you?
I'm good, and how about you?
I am wonderful as always. Good morning and welcome to the program. I'm saying this that you're one of the new faces that of the GFA.
Yes.
Well, and I'm assuming because
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here just the same. And I'm assuming rightfully because we're going to talk women's football, it makes it even better that we have a female face to talk about that. Ruth, we know the GFA has made a lot of strides when it comes to the development of football on the island. Traditionally, because football as it is, it's been a male-dominated sport. But in the more recent times, we know that Grenada in particular has had tremendous success with its female teams across the different, whether it's on the under 15, the 17s, we've been doing really, really great. And there's been an effort to make sure we have a dominant football program that caters for our girls. Tell me, what's been happening at the GFA? We know COVID has thrown a lot into the works, but bring us up to speed. What's happening inside of the GFA as it relates to women's football?
Okay, well, ongoing now is the U15. We have the U15 competitions that consist of five teams, and the last round of play will be on the 22nd of this month. The Women's League finals is coming up. The semi-finals also is coming up. One semi-finals played already, and it was on the 29th of June. That was Queen's Park versus Paradise A. Unfortunately, Paradise A won, and I'm also a Queen's Park player. So we lost that game. The second semi-finals is Boca Juniors and Come On FC, but the day it's supposed to play, the rain came and was consistently falling, so the game could not have played. And that match will be on the 31st of this month. We scheduled to play on the 31st of this month. So whoever wins this match will be playing Paradise A in the finals, which is the 7th of August. So we have the semi-finals on the second semi-finals on the 31st of this month, and the finals will be at the Karani James Athletic Stadium on the 7th of August.
Right, okay. So that's what's currently on. Is there any, because we just halfway in the year, what are the plans for the second half of the year as it relates to women's football?
Well, the plan for the second half of the year, on the 7th of August, we'll be launching first time ever Women's Premier League.
Whoa, Women's Premier League. Okay, let's talk about that. Women's Premier League in football in Spice Country. August, let's go. Right. How many teams you have?
5 teams. Each teams will play four rounds. The teams are Paradise, Come On FC, Boca Juniors, Queen's Park. Four teams of 4 rounds. So all teams will be playing home and away.
Right.
So it's just a small start because the competition that's going on now, the finals that we are waiting is a 7-a-side. That competition is 7-a-side, which was just a competition to see where the girls are at, how many teams coming out. So we had a little preparation, and that lead us to the Premier League, which is 11-a-side, the real thing.
Right.
Full matches, right.
Well, I mean, I must say congratulations to the GFA on that initiative, because we no doubt that over the years that a lot of efforts has been put into getting women's football. We've had the Right Start Cup, which had the female component, and there's been different conversations that's taken place, and it seems though that Grenada seems to have much more success on the regional and international front when it comes to football, but locally not much seems to happen, and certainly this would help to give a boost overall to that trust for the game.
Yeah. Well, in Grenada, the football, like girls, people don't really, the girls are never really out there in football. It's just, the men, and people don't see it as, like something that they would want the girls to be interested in. But football is football. It doesn't matter if it's boy or girl. Everyone should have the right to play if they want to play, and women's football could reach far. And the girls, I know it have girls out there that wants to play, but just a little motivation, a little talk, a little something just to keep them up to par, and not studying about the negative. Oh, you're gonna get hurt, you is a girl, and always have these kind of things when it comes to women's football.
Well, let's talk about you, Ruth, because I mean, certainly you have your own story to tell. I mean, you're talking about the other young women out there, but of course we know that you were. Is it the Rangers you play for? Is it?
Well, my name is Ruth Lewis. I am 18 years of age. I am a national football player. I also play for the club Queen's Park Rangers. Right. I have 7 international goals, and since 2015, I have been representing Grenada in various tournaments and competitions. And the last competition I were in, well, not last, my last U15. Remember, we brought home a medal. That when we came second.
Yes.
Yeah, and when we came home with medal, yeah.
And your journey started at the school level. It was at the same Right Start Cup.
Right, school level. I made my first national when I was in Form 1. Now reaching Form 1, I got to explore places I wanted to, like Disneyland. I always wanted, watching it on TV, saying, well, I want to be there. And football actually take me there. And football is not just a game, but it teaches you respect. It teaches you how to be responsible. and it helps you get out there. So yeah,
And
it's a real.
and there are economic benefits to coming from this. You look on international scenes,
Yes.
you look at the likes of Matter and all of the others. So all of a sudden, I mean, they've literally made a name for themselves. I mean, traditionally, as you said, they've actually dominated. But no, women's football, I mean, it's just as exciting, and I've seen I've seen these women play, and their skill set. You start going, boo. I don't want to be defending them at any given day.
Yeah, so I just want women's football to go there, you know. It will be really good and like very important for like the parents and them to encourage their children to play, no matter if it's football or whatever sport. And sport actually keeps teenagers or children out of situations that might lead to other stuff.
It is right.
So like, you know,
Right.
drugs and just wasting time when they could occupy themselves and, you know. Yeah.
I'm happy you said that, Ruth, because the truth is, I mean, to be in sports, it not just develops the game itself that you're in, but it helps you mentally. There is a physical component of it. There is a physical, so you literally there is, it's a win-win for everyone, as you said. So there's a physical component. There's a game as you develop in the game. You got a chance to there's the traveling opportunities, and then you just never know if you're serious enough. You may just be able to attract the eyes of a sponsor and get a scholarship somewhere.
Yeah. You see, respect is something that must be portrayed in all sports, in all institutions, everywhere. So the sports is like a school. It has rules and regulations to follow, which will help you like in homes, outside, when you're passing, you say morning, good afternoon. It helps you with respect, responsibility, knowing how to time manage yourself.
And teamwork, teamwork, if nothing else. You have to learn teamwork. But for you as an individual, Ruth, at everything that you've achieved, is there that one thing for you that stands out most in your mind? I know there is a lot, but if you could decompartmentalize and say, you know what, I've did this, I've gone to Disney World, I've gone this, I've traveled, I've met people. But what can you say that you can take away from the game that you know 10, 15, 20 years from now, you go into adulthood, womanhood, and you can say, thank you to football for making me that individual? What's that one thing, or two, or three?
Okay, so that one thing, my passion is children, well, helping people on a whole. So I wanted to be a counselor. And in order to be a counselor, you need to have patience. In the game, scoring goals is not just like that. You have to build up patience. You will try and try. So that helped me to have patience. That helped me to learn, because when you're on the field and your team is about to pass the ball, you must look around you to see, well, who is there, if have any opponent, any obstacle. So that also helps me in preparing myself to be a counselor, you know, having the time to deal with people, as you say, teamwork. And don't matter where you stand, or even if you're working, you have to work with people. So different personalities and everything mixing together. So yeah, I feel that has me on a way, and respect out of the sports will take you far. And my dream is to be a counselor, so I think I'm on the right path.
Well, I know that you are on the right path, because even so, as a counselor, even in sports, mental preparedness is a critical component to the game. So it is okay to have the skills. But sometimes you understand, when you have those big games, you have to mentally prepare yourself. You know what? How do I get myself into the zone for the game? Never know. 10, 15 years from now, you will be traveling with the team. When I hope you just remember me, okay? That's what I'm saying. Just remember me. Folks, this is young Ruth. I mean, it's interesting, Ruth, that this is the first time I'm happy because I've known Ruth for as long as you've been playing football. So the name I know the face, but I'm happy that I would say, you know what, I have had the opportunity to have the conversation with you, and I'm really, really happy.
Yes, I'm happy also.
I'm happy that you're not just that you're giving back to football, that you're in the GFA office as a way of saying, you know what, this is my commitment to the sport and to all other young women. I'm going to give you a minute, just to speak directly to some young girl that is out there, a young woman that is out there that has a dream and have a passion, whether it's football or not. What would you say to them?
I would say to them, number one, follow your dreams and do not worry about anybody or what they have to say. Any opinions, don't make anyone bring you down. If you know that's what you want, that's what you want. And football, I know you have a lot of girls out there that wants to play the sport. But parents, I'm asking if your daughters, even your son likes the sport or wants to play the sport, don't have them home and, just encourage them, help them, be a part of that. And I feel if the parents get involved more, the children will come out more. Because I know in some homes might be strict, some homes might be, So different homes, different children. All the girls out there, love yourself, and sports could take you far. And the number one thing, have respect. Respect could take you right around the world.
Love yourself.
Yes, JC.
Love yourself. And I want to remember that Ruth says that we should love ourselves. I'll remember that. And I'll take away from a conversation today. That JC, every morning I wake up, I'll remember Ruth says, JC, love yourself.
Love yourself.
Thanks a lot, Ruth.
And remember to pray every day. Remember to pray every day too.
And of course, remember to pray every day. Thanks a lot. I really, really, really appreciate this. Give my regards to all the folks that's in the office. Yeah, you take care, Ruth. All the best to you. Reminding you, folks.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure. Young Ruth, our national player, and certainly a talent, a wonderful young lady. Remember, folks, love yourselves. Follow your dreams. Parents, you are the catalyst that would help a child. They say, because you never know. Sports is a vehicle that can take you anywhere. Coming up in August, here the Women's Premier League, that one's going to be a real rocker. Believe me, I've seen these women. I mean, when they get in on the field, boy, I saw Mata literally did some crossover, and I was like, okay, really? In women's football? Gee, I don't want to be caught in a one-on-one on any day with them. All the best to you. For those of you that is on television, I send you back to studio control for part of your regular programming. For those of you that is on radio,